right, guys, now we're back here to another video for quality assurance, and we're still talking about problem solving techniques. And I'm going to start with this dimming cycle to remind you about these steps that we use to solve a problem. These steps that we should follow in order to have an effective solution. These steps are systematic. These steps: plan, do, study, act. These are very effective and simple to use. In the past videos and slides, we discussed the plan phase and what we need to do. We need to spend much of time on planning, a lot of time on planning. Before we do anything, before we study anything, we should spend a lot of time on planning. And that's where the majority of these tools should be implemented in the plan phase to better understand the situation, to better understand the problem, to go into the details, to ask five whys, to look into the distribution and if the data is normally distributed or not. We look into the If we're looking into the Pareto charts, we look into the most vital problems that we should focus. Remember the 80-20 rule, where 80% of the problems came from 20% of the causes. So if we solve the 20%, we will be solving the 80%. So again, we're done with the plan phase. Now we're going to move to the do phase, and then we'll go to the study and act. And that's we're going to just discuss the main phases, the main steps that we should use in each of these phases. So in this phase, the do phase, which is basically the author of this textbook, they said this is the seventh step: identify, select, and implement the solution. The most significant portion of the problem solving effort must be concentrated in the plan phase. So we should focus on the plan. We should give a lot of attention on the plan. Once the cause has been identified, it is the time to develop and implement a plan of action. So we identify the problem. It's time deeply. We fully understand what is the problem. Now we should go and implement a plan of action. During this phase of the problem solving process, the team identifies solutions, develops action plan, and implements the solution. So now it's the time to develop some solutions, develop some action plans, and then you implement the solution. Potential solutions are generated, and the most likely to eliminate the major root cause is selected. So now we have what we put several solutions. We propose solution 1, 2, and 3, and now we're going to investigate these solutions and see if these will help solve these root causes of the issue. It could be not only one action, it could be like multiple actions, and you should select the best one that will help you to solve the issue. The changes that need to be made are defined, and people are identified to carry out the task of making these changes. So what we need to do, we identify the solution. We need to see the impact, how we could make this happen, how we could implement the solution. So what we need to do, we have to identify the changes, what needs to be done in order to implement the proposed solution, and who are going to be part of this implementation. As the solution is implemented, the team and management monitor the change process to ensure that the solution is implemented. So once we implement the solution, we need to monitor the process to ensure that these changes will work perfectly. Now, as I mentioned, when you propose solutions, you could have multiple options, but if you want to select a solution, here's some guidelines that will help you to select the solution. The solution should be selected, or it should be judged against 4 general criteria. So you have to have 4 general criteria to judge your solution. One is the solution should be address the root cause of the problem. Second, the solution should be chosen on the basis of its potential to prevent recurrence of the problem. So we don't need this problem to happen again. We need to select this solution that will prevent from happening again. Number 3, a quick or short-term fix to a problem will only mean that time will be wasted in solving this problem again when it recurs in the future. Uh, so we're not looking into a short-term solution. We are looking on the long-term solution. Just having a band-aid for a problem, this is not going to work. We need to have a permanent solution, because the band-aid solution, the short-term solution, um, will not prevent the problem from happening. It could solve it for like a week or two, but eventually uh, the problem will happen. So we are looking into a good solution, a long-term solution. The solution should be cost effective. Also, we look into the some financial aspect of the solution, such as the return on investment, and something like the internal rate of return, or net present value, or the future value, etc. So the most expensive solution is not necessary to be the best solution for the company. Major changes to the process, system, or equipment may not be appropriate solution for a process or product that will be disconnected in the future. So again, if the process or the product, this service will be disconnected in the future, so maybe the major change is not necessary to implement. So another thing that you need to consider is the financial aspect of a solution. All right, let's move on to the fifth one also. The solution should be capable of being implemented within a reasonable amount of time. So there, sometimes what we see, there are a lot of great solutions that requires years and years to be implemented. So now this is, in particular, this is not going to be appropriate for the situation. We need something to be solved uh, within a reasonable time. We need something to be implemented within a month, 2 months, 3 months. Could be something you know we could do it. But now, if that's going to take years and years, that could be an issue, and we should not select that. So we need to look into the financial aspect, we need to look into the time aspect, we need to look into long-term aspect, we need to look into the one that will prevent from the problem to happen, and the five, the one that will address the root cause of the problem. Uh, a good tool that we use most of the time to select between options, called the force field analysis. It's very simple, very easy, but it's very effective at the same time. Um, so what would be the force field analysis? It will be a tool to help you identify issues affecting the implementation of a solution. So we need to look into what would be, if I implemented this solution, what would be the good and bads, what would be the advantages versus the disadvantages. And that's what is the force field analysis. Basically, the force field analysis is a chart that helps team separate the driving forces, the positive, the advantages forces, and the restraining forces, the disadvantages, the bad thing associated with a complex situation. These easy to develop charts help a team to determine the positive or driving forces, are encouraging the improvement of the process, as well the forces that restrain the improvement. So we need to be aware of the positive and the negative of a solution, and the force field analysis would be the best solution to select. Once the driving and restraining forces have been identified, the team can discuss how to enhance the positive, the driving forces, and remove these negative forces or the disadvantages from the implementation. All right, what is the force field? The force field looks like this one, as you see. Uh, and on the right side on the screen, you see the right side of the screen, you will see the forces restraining the change. Now the change is in the middle, and on the left side, you will see the forces for change. So that would be on the left side, that would be the positive, the advantages. These are the positive, and these are the negatives. These are the disadvantages. And the change is in the middle right here. So for example, I would like to buy a new machine. That's a change that I want to do. The positive thing, I will be improving productivity. I will be improving quality. Less time need to produce more, which means more items can produce. On the right side, which is the negative, this machine is costly. This machine needs us to provide the training for our employees. This machine needs a space. So by listing the advantages and the disadvantages, you will have a better idea on should I go for it? If I should go for it, how I could remove these retaining changes, how I should remove these disadvantages, the negative forces from the solution. Can this something be happen? Yes or no? So it is a very effective tool that we use it to choose between options. So if I do have 3 4 options, I would say machine A, machine B, and machine C. What is the advantages and disadvantages of buying machine A? What is the advantages and disadvantages for machine B? The same thing for C and D. And now once you have all the advantages and disadvantages for all these machines, what you could do, you could find out what would be the best solution, the one with a less negative, the less bad impact on your company. Very helpful, very useful, and it's easy to use. All right, now we're moving into the next phase, which is the study phase. Now we implemented the solution. We used the force field analysis to select the best one that will give us the long term, that will remove all the root causes of these issues. We looked into the financial aspect. We looked into the time aspect. We looked into everything. Now, once we implement it, we have to study. That's the phase of studying. Remember again, back to the Deming cycle. The first one is a plan. The second one is do. Now the third phase, which is the study. Let's see what would be in the study phase. And let's see if we could uh, read more about what activities happen in this phase. In this phase, overall, what you need to do, evaluate the solution. We need to monitor the solution. We need to check if the solution works or the solution doesn't work. Once implemented and given time to operate, problem solving actions are checked to see if the problem has truly been solved or not. So I have an issue with the high defect rate, and I bought a machine. I bought a new machine to solve this issue. So once I implemented this machine, I want to see if the defect rates has been reduced. If that's the case, yeah, I'm happy I've reached my goal. If not, then why is that? Why the defects is not solved? So you have to go back into the Deming cycle again, and the 5 whys, why and why and why, and you have to find the root cause of the problem. To determine if the solution has worked, the measures of performance created in step 3 should be utilized to track the improvement. So now that's here. What we said is basically what I mean by step 3 here. It's, if you remember that we said once you have a plan, you have to set up some measures that will help you to see if you achieve the goal or not. And these measures should be used as the baseline for you. And then these also measures should be used to see if you solve the problem or not. So we're here, once we selected the solution and we need to know if it's working or not, we need to see the measures of these performance. If we said number of complaints was 30% before implementing the solution, now is 10%. Now we see there's a difference. Now it's working. So we used the number of complaints, customer complaints, as a measure to measure the performance of our solution. Prior data collected during the analysis phase of the project should be compared with the present data to be taken from the process. Control charts, histogram, run charts. So all of these tools that we discussed before in the plan phase, we could use them again, because now we need to compare before and after. And without comparing before and after, we can't make a decision that we reached to the goal. We solve the problem. Therefore, we need to exactly see where we are. So we need to use these tools, the control chart, the histogram, the Pareto chart, the run charts, other charts that we discussed in the plan phase, and we're going to use them one more time to see if there's an improvement happen, if we solve the problem or not. So we need to compare before and after and decide if that's going to work, if we solve the problem, if the solution was effective. The measures of performance will show whether the gaps between the desired performance level and the previous performance level have been closed. If the gap closed, that's perfect. That's perfect. Now that would reach us to the next phase, which is the act. What is the things that happen in the act? Ensure performance. This is what the title is, act, ensure performance. It involves making decision to adopt the change. Okay, now we need to, should we adopt the change? So if you remember in the plan, what we said, we need to implement this on a small scale. In the do phase, we need to implement this on a small scale. We're not gonna do this on a large scale for all the companies. We're not sure if that's gonna work or not. So we try it, we demo it. There's the demo solution. If that's worked, then we could implement this on a bigger scale. So if the decision work, then what we have to do, we have to adopt the change. If not, what we have to do, if it did not work, then we have to go back and repeat uh, the problem solving cycle. This key step ensures continuous improvement. If the change is adopted, then efforts must be made to ensure that new methods have been established so that the new level of quality performance can be maintained. So the whole idea is we need to sustain this. We need to keep the change. We need to keep the improvement. So with that, with the act phase, it's going to help us. It's going to ensure the continuous improvement. This phase of the quality improvement process exists to ensure that the new controls and procedures stay in place. These, we need to make sure these policies that we created stay in place. Extensive training and follow-up training are very helpful in implementing the new method. We need to provide training, follow-up, observing for the operator. Sometimes the problem-solving team, they're not working in that area. They have been part of the team, but now they have to go back to another problem and solve it. So what they have to do before leave is train these people, monitor them, follow up with them to make sure that the new implementation would work. Also, in this act phase for the continuous improvement, upon completion of the project, teams often present their finding in front of in form of a final report or storyboard. So once the implementation done, the achievements has been done, there is a need to present the improvement. By sharing their success story, these teams motivate others to tackle problems in their own area. So it's really nice when you share it, and especially in a storyboard. Storyboard, basically, it's a board in the middle of the company where any employee coming into the company or going out of the company, they can read it. So this storyboard would be a very excellent way to communicate these successes and these improvements. And once the company use the storyboard, they could share this achievement with the rest of the company. So the other people in other teams and other areas could use the same technique and encourage them, motivate them to look for areas for improvement. Once a problem is solved, teams are reformed to do it all over again. This is time when a new problem, opportunity, or project. Now, so it's problem solved. What's next? Let's go take a next problem, next issue, next project that we need to work on it. Only through continual improvement can a company hope to move toward the future. Continuous improvement, that's what's going to bring you to the future. Improve it, improve its customer base, and ensure future profits. All right, that's the end of the chapter 3, problem solving. What we discussed on the left side, flow chart, run chart, um, That's actually the control chart because you have a upper control limit and lower control limit. We did discuss the histogram. We did talk about the Sheik sheet. We did talk about the Pareto charts, scatter diagram, fishbone diagram, or Ishikawa diagram, and we did talk about the tools that we use um, for the flow chart or the process chart. And here is just an example that you could use to review the process using the flow chart diagram. With that said, I'd like to thank you. That's has been a long chapter. Chapter three is very important, very effective. But I hope these videos will help you understand the problem-solving tools and how to use them, how to implement them, how to create them using Excel or maybe using a paper and pencil. Either way would be fine. These days, technology is a key, and we need to make sure to use the Excel the technology because it's more efficient and more accurate to all of us. So, with that say, I would like to thank you very much. And if there's any question that you may have, please let me know, and I will be happy to answer your question. See ya.